Never will I sew and fill in the blank. We all have those projects. And for me, it is the romper. And today you're going to come along with me as I sew my first romper. I'm Vanessa with Ellie and Mac, and let's get started. I did not set out this summer thinking that I would sew a romper. But here we are with Diana not quite back from her camp. I'm hoping she's going to come back real soon for you guys. I had to fill in with this romper, and you know what? It was good for me. I am glad that I have faced this fear. It turned out really cute and I couldn't be happier with it. So let me tell you all the details. So today we're going to be actually combining the Diana top. I had to gain her inspiration somewhere. And then we're also doing the staycation bottom. So we're just kind of mashing this romper with this dress top and seeing what comes out. Now we still need to be able to come in and out of this top. And so I lowered the back and I'm going to show you how to add the gather, and we're not going to add the casing for the elastic. I have a fun way to tackle that. So let's get started. So here is the Diana. This dress is so amazing. There's so many options, and I'm excited just to use this bodice today. I haven't actually tried this square neck, but it looks so adorable, and it's going to be perfect for what I need it for. So I like to just do the edges or the corners with my scissors. These are the same scissors that need to be sharpened. I know if that is bothering some of you, I am so sorry. I will get them sharpened soon. But once you have that cut, you can see that I actually have my lining fabric, and that's what's kind of making it harder for my scissors. I actually have 2 layers of fabric, and this lining fabric is a nice rib knit, and it has a really great recovery. It has a little bit better recovery than the outside fabric, and this outside fabric is more of like a baby French terry, and it's just really nice and soft. It's just going to be just beautiful. Now, as you can see, I'm going to be cutting out the back exactly like how the pattern has it. But after I get done cutting out the shoulder seams as well as the neck seam, I'm going to just fold it in half with that liner, and we're just going to bring down the neckline. So this is what we have right sides together, is so that we can easily bring down the neckline, and then it's going to line up when we're sewing together. Having it unfold also helps. You can even bring this down a little bit deeper. You just want to make sure that you're not taking anything out of those shoulder seams. So here I'm just going to come down a little bit, about 1/4 inch deeper than I did before, and you can see that we're about 1.25 inches lower than the original pattern. Now these are the staycation, and this romper is just adorable as is, but we're going to add this onto the Diana. Now I'm trying to go straight from the curve of the bowl all the way down, so it's not going to come in at all at the legs. We are adding pockets. I know that's so exciting, and then we're going to again make sure that we are straightening the seams of the outside seams of these pants. So by the time it gets to the base, I'm adding about 1 inch width all the way down. And you can decide to do this or not. I wanted it to be a little bit more wider. I could even go as wide as Palooza on this, and I think it'd be really adorable. But I wanted to make sure that I had the romper that was going to have a high enough waistband, because the Diana is a little bit shorter at the waistband. Now these are the back of the pants, and we're just going to be doing exactly what we did before. We're going to just be straightening out the legs, making them a little wider. These pants have a cute little flare to them. And you can even lengthen them a little bit. I did exactly like how the pattern has it, but I wouldn't mind to have them a little bit, about 1 inch longer. And you want to make sure that these are going to fit really well. I was going to size up like I normally would, but then I realized that's going to cause a lot of gathering around the waist. And this fabric, a lot of times when they do these rompers, they do it with rayon spandex, and then you don't know what to wear underneath them. So I wanted to have a little thicker fabric. Now here we are at the serger, and we're just sewing together the pockets to the front of the pants. So we're just going to sew that stitch, and then we are going to take it and we're going to understitch it. So understitching is where you take the serge over to the inside of the pocket. So you want to have it facing that direction, and then we're just going to sew it down. What's nice about doing an understitch is it keeps
that pocket sitting the correct way. So you can see how it looks right here with the understitching. No one's going to see that stitch, but it's going to help hold everything nice and securely together. And then we can add on the liner of the pocket. And so here at the liner, we're just going to serge it all the way around, and then we can baste on the stitch. So I love to baste on my pockets because once you start adding on the side seams and the waistband, you're going to want those to be put together. So here I have a very elongated zigzag stitch, and I'm just going to stitch that pocket in as well as along the edge of the side seam. And I promise this helps so much. So here's at the top right here. So you just want to make sure that everything is lined up and then get everything correctly, and then that wide zigzag stitch to make sure that you have no problems. Look how nice that holds together. It's just perfect. I'm going to show you again because basting, it really does help prevent having any problems. So here is just one quick way, just kind of make it a little easier for you. So now that we have the bottoms done, it's exciting time. We're going to move over to the bodice. So here I'm just going to be clipping on, and we're just going to start at the shoulder seams. I know sometimes it's really fun to kind of clip as much pieces that you can serge together at the same time, but here we're going to just make sure we take this easy so we get everything lined up. So we're going to do the shoulders of both the blue liner, and here you can see the quality of this fabric. I know oftentimes we want to use a fabric that's really cheap on the inside, but with this pattern and with this style, you want to make sure that you have a really good fabric that has a great recovery. Also, you can see I'm using my sewing machine right here. So this is going to be on the inside. This is also the shoulder seams that need to go over your shoulders and over your hips. So doing it at my sewing machine is going to mean that I'm going to have less chances of those serges opening up. You know how sometimes that can happen if you don't have your serger just right, and this is a lot of force. So just going and doing a zigzag stitch is perfect. Now we're going to be doing right sides together with the liner and with the outside fabric, and we are going to just sew the neckline together. Now again, I'm over here at my sewing machine. I'm doing a 1/4 seam allowance, and the reason why I'm at my sewing machine is that corner right here. And so you want to make sure that you have a sharp corner, and that's just not achievable with a serger. You can easily cut into the shirt, so no one's going to see this. Once we turn right sides together, it's going to be completely hidden, and so it's a perfect place to just sew it with your machine. And you know, honestly, if you only have a machine, this pattern is perfect for you. This hack, I mean, is perfect because so many of the edges is going to be finished, and honestly having a serger is just going to be doing the finished edges, not so much really sewing this together. And as we continue, you'll see more of this, but especially when I add on the waist, you're going to see how much of the sewing machine I use. So here we're going to just snip inside those corners, and that's really going to help give us a really nice crisp edges. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I am not going to actually understitch. I want to make sure that I don't break any stitches with this. And here we are just burrito rolling. So with the burrito rolling, we're just going to roll up the fabric, and then we're going to take where the arm shoulder is, and then we wrap it around fabric. And this is because you can't turn it out at those shoulder seams normally, like through the neckband, because it's just on a different axis. So you just have to burrito roll it. I know I've showed this so many times. I'm going to show it again right here just in case you missed it. But once we have it all serged, see, I'm going to show you. You're going to roll up the finished side we just did, and then you're going to wrap around that shoulder, and then you're just going to clip it into place, and we're just going to be serging the arm side or using your sewing machine here. I just want to make sure that you line up that perfectly. Now I'm using my serger on this, and you really have to be careful that none of the inside fabric comes in and you accidentally nick it with the knife, because it will cause problems. So I just serged it, and then just pull it through the shoulder, and you can see how nicely finished that is. Now it's time to start sewing up the side seams. And that's why it was so important for us not to get too serge happy and just finishing the bodice without and the side seams at the beginning before we actually did the shoulders. Sometimes that trying to save time can kind of make some of these finished details a little harder to achieve. In this case, it's very important. And then here we're just serging together the side seams. We want to make sure that our outside fabric's together as well as our lining, and it's lined up perfectly. This fabric is so much fun with the flowers, but it's kind of interesting. It actually, you would not believe this, but it is directional. And then it has like a pattern on how it lays. And so I had to be really careful to make sure that I didn't get any flowers in the wrong spot. And then the legs, you can see the design with it a little bit more than this. The base is a little bit easier to kind of hide that kind of design. But you'll be able to see it with the legs. So here we need to just start gathering up the waist of those pants for a romper. But I tried to gather and this fabric was just not allowing me to. So I decided to do an elastic, and this elastic's about an inch smaller than the bodice, and I'm just gonna stretch it on. So after I quarter it, just like a neckband, this is Pico Elastic. It's spelled like Picotte, but it's Pico Elastic. It's a lingerie elastic. You guys see me use this all the time. And we're just going to zigzag this on. And I'm kind of doing a basting zigzag. You're going to think of this a little bit more like it's a neckband as we're stretching it on. You want to make sure that you get it right to the edge and just maybe like slow down your stitches just to make sure that everything is nice and even. This is going to give us really nice and tight gathers. You can see right here, and it's going to help hold it up, but then it's going to eliminate that casing. There's just a few rounds of basting that we have to do in order to make this work. So we have done our first round of basting, adding on the elastic, and now we're going to do our second round of basting. Now, if you don't have a serger, you can actually just do this a little closer. So maybe like a 3.5 with your zigzag stitch instead of a 4 or 5. Now, it is going to hold it together because it's actually getting thicker as we add on the elastic. And then right now we're at 3 layers of fabric. So it's going to look a little closer than a 5. And so you don't need to have it really close when you're sewing this on if you don't have a serger. So maybe like just, a 3.5 would probably work just fine, and it'll hold it together. And then after I got done sewing this on, I actually took it over to the serger. And I just want to make sure that if you're serging this together, you don't want to cut into that Pico elastic at all. You just want to make sure that that's your stopping point for your knife. And then you can just cut off all the edges, and then it just really gives you a nice finished inside to this romper. And here it is on. This turned out really well. I am so excited at how this looks. It's very, very comfortable. With the pockets, it's functional. And with the sleeveless, it's not hot at all. It's perfect for those hot summer days where you just need something nice and cozy to get into. What do you think of my first romper?
So it turned out really cute. I feel very cute in this. I also feel really comfortable. I would say the only thing is the bathroom fare is still there. Also, I feel like my bottom is just out. Now, I'm very happy that I made this one because usually when you buy the rompers, they're made out of this rayon spandex that's really thin and hard to find anything to wear underneath them because you can see all the lines. So I'm so happy that I actually made this and did not purchase it. It was very easy to make, and you can make it too. What I loved and the techniques that I gathered from making this is definitely how to do a square neck. I think that just doing it with my sewing machine is the best way possible, and then just snipping the corners. And then I loved doing more of the dress elastic than the casing elastic right at the waist. And I really like having the fitted top with the romper bottoms. I think having both the loose top and bottom was just kind of a hurdle for me to get over. You know, it was just it didn't feel like I would feel put together in it. And so having a more fitted bodice on this definitely is up my alley. It makes me a lot more comfortable in this romper. I hope you had fun with me. Like, this was tackling something for me. I think you guys have heard me say it so many times that I have a fear of rompers, but here I am in it. And I'm very comfortable. So if you have a little fear, give it a try. You might find something that you like. You can always wear an under cami underneath it. So when you take off the top, you don't feel so exposed. So there's some options here. We're not just left alone. But thank you again for watching, laughing, and like and subscribe would be great. But we just wish you happy sewing. Catch you next time.